guys, Lord here, back again with another edition of Flashback Fridays, and what I have for you today is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Mantis Build-A-Figure Wave Death's Head 2. That's right, continuing our looks at some really standout figures from past Guardians of the Galaxy waves. Today we're taking a look at good old Death's Head 2, and this review is actually dedicated to my good buddy Vampire, since this is his favorite Marvel character of all time to my understanding. So why don't you have this figure, man? I'm waiting for you to go down that hole. Jokes aside though, before we get into the meat and taters of this review, since I no longer have the packaging for this guy, he does come with one accessory, and that is a pointing finger hand that looks like it has arthritis like no other. That's it. Is it just me, or do the really cool characters get the shaft when it comes to accessories? I mean, this guy, Sleepwalker, Darkhawk, even Venom to a point, Ghost Rider. The first Ghost Rider Hasbro did that was a more traditional looking one didn't even have a chain whip. Just had a chain wrapped around his waist. Can you believe that? Can you believe it? But taking a closer look at Death's Head 2 here. He's got a very Michael Bay Megatron looking arm. Let's just get that right out the way. This looks like the arm that Megatron had in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Like, I don't have my Voyager class Megatron from that movie out, unfortunately, from the studio series. Hard to keep track because they just keep making G1 crap nowadays. But it looks just like this. Just about. I think the blade's a little bit longer on the bottom there, but it's super close. So it's almost like they slapped that on there. Which, to my understanding, he's never really had a gun this big. And it would have been nice to get some interchangeable arm options instead of pointing finger with arthritis, but whatever. He does have a fist hand, which is typically what I display mine with. And the overall proportions on this guy, something seems off to me. I feel like his shoulders should be up higher and a little bit broader. Just a tiny bit. Not a lot, but it seems like his traps are freaking humongous. And he just looks kind of skinny in the upper torso. His legs look alright. I think his legs look fine. I think the arms are bulky enough, but I think the shoulders could be at least up a little higher, not maybe just a smidge broader. He's got the V going, it's just something's missing. You know, the more traditional superhero proportions, their torso shaped a little bit more like a V. It goes out as it goes up instead of just being like a tube going straight up and down. He's somewhere in the middle, I'll say. He seems to have the V shape but lack it at the same time. But at the end of the day, I probably don't know what I'm talking about, and this figure is still freaking kick-ass, dude. Look at this. It is a skeleton cyborg dude with horns like the Violator, dreadlocks like the Predator, a gun arm like movie Megatron, which tickles my fancy. I don't know about the rest of you. And Chapel boots. Chapel from Spawn, or Youngblood, whichever. And then he's got a interesting crotch piece there. But just a really cool looking figure. I doubt we'll ever get this guy again, so you'll probably just have to go to eBay to try and find one of these, but he's freaking cool, man. I really dig this figure. Not quite sure why he's in the Mantis Build-A-Figure wave, because this was a wave release for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is the same case for Angela and Darkhawk, kind of why I'm doing this guy next. But yeah, they released a lot of decent figures in those waves, and this guy's no exception to that. But as far as articulation goes, his head will rotate. You can look up and down. You do get a lot of range out of that. Maybe his head's just sitting high on the neck. Let me pop his head off here. As you can see, am I crazy or is that neck long? I don't know. It looks off to me, because this is actually a reuse of Colossus from the Warlock wave. There we go. And he was a little bit worse because he didn't have the hair to kind of cover that neck. So I don't know if his neck is too long or I'm just tripping, but something just seems off with his upper body. If they could just fix that, this would be easy. Top 5 legends, I think, because it's just a character that you're not gonna see very often, if at all. But shoulders go out to the side. Go back down, forward and back. The side's nice and tight. This side's a little loose, but it has had this weight on it all this time. But at the same time, I have had it pointed down, so it shouldn't be too loose. It's got a bicep swivel, single joint at the elbow here, which can be easier said than done to move. Holy shit. There you go. That's tighter than most BAF joints. Like, let's be real here. If every figure had joints like this, we wouldn't have problems. We wouldn't need pinless tech, because this is super tight. He does have a hinged swivel wrist, and it's easy enough to pop out. Or not, jeez. Even that was kind of tough, but I am no way going to display him with that goofy pointing finger, so we're just going to leave that off. And since he's already kind of doing the back for us, Zap Crunch goes back that far. And forward about 2 clicks, actually. Yeah, 2 clicks. He's got a waist swivel. Works alright. Nice and tight because of his belt. Hips kick out to the side. Not very far, but he's a big dude. He doesn't need to do that. Not much forward and back either, but I think there's enough there. Does have a thigh cut. And unfortunately this leg was warped. I did heat it up and straighten it out a little bit, but it seems to have bowed back in a bit. So that's not ideal, but it's not terrible. I think it is a little bit better than it was, though. And then as far as his knees go, he's got a double knee. Works pretty good. Bend that down. Now, his boots. He has rotation, but it's not at the top here, which would have been a little better. Or if they somehow managed to get this boot to go over the top of the lower leg. They put the cut here. And unfortunately, that splits everything in half. Had they done it up here, I think it would have been better. I think they could have managed to put it here. And heck, I would have even taken some creative liberties and only had 3 spikes just to get that cut to look a little bit better, because here it just looks bad. You break the boot up, you break the sculpt up, it just doesn't look that great. Another reason your boy does not like calf swivels. So, there you go. And then his foot does have a decent range as well. And forward and back, he's got a rocker and peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So you can put him on a stand if you want, but he doesn't really need one. He's a big, chunky-ish boy. I wouldn't say he's like super chunk. He's not like Venom Pool or Monster Venom, or even the Omega Red body is pretty chunky, considering this is a little bit, it's big, but it's kind of slender compared to that. And really, depending on who you ask, Sleepwalker should have been on a buck like this tall. But, like, obviously slimmed down quite a bit, because he's not supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? But, at any rate, with that being said, let's now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is Death's Head 2, next to a couple other Marvel Legends figures that also came out during the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Build-A-Figure waves. Darkhawk and Angela, and to my surprise, Angela's actually got more height on her than I anticipated. She's almost eye to eye with Death's Head here. And can we just go back to getting cool average figures like Darkhawk here? I mean, yeah, he was average for the time, but average seemed to be a lot better during this time. What do you guys think? And last but certainly not least, we have our 2 regulars, the Mythic Legions, Brother Mandibulus, 11 Spawn, who's not towering over everyone today because Death's Head 2 is an absolute beast. So with that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and even though this figure doesn't exactly have much going for it, unless you are absolutely in love with this character, that is, and I know little to nothing about this character other than what I learned from my buddy Vampire, I still think this is probably one of the best Marvel Legends in my collection. Yeah, that's right, I'm saying it. I think he's freaking badass, dude. I mean, just look at this dude. You wouldn't screw with this guy if you saw him in a dark alley, would ya? I know I sure as hell wouldn't. So, for that and that alone, if you like cool looking Marvel characters, then you ought to do yourself a favor and pick this guy up. I think he's worth having. Even if you know jack squat about the character like I do, I think he's cool enough to warrant a place on your Legends shelf, wherever it may be. I don't know of any team affiliations for this character, but I'm sure he's been on at least a couple. Every Marvel character has, right? So, with that being said, Vampire, you need to do yourself a favor and get one of these 2. He's your favorite character, man. Come on, you know you want it. Jokes aside, though, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of Flashback Fridays. And if you are so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when you get arthritis for pointing. That's just no fun, is it? And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.